What is up, my aesthetic boys? It's Fresh, back with another video. Today we have an episode of Malicious Compliance, and if you're a fan of government incompetence, well, this is the video for you. Don't like my food? Here, have the hottest hot sauce in the world. My girlfriend has an asshole of a father. Her mother's wonderful, but her dad's a screwball. She knows how I feel and is thankfully very understanding and keeps him and my interactions to a minimum. However, last week I moved into my first apartment in Seattle and my girlfriend brought her parents over for dinner. When I served plates of salmon and potatoes that I was very proud of, her father proclaimed after barely taking a bite that it was, quote, tasteless and embarrassing. He then demanded some hot sauce. I happen to be sort of an odd collector and like to keep the extremes of different things. I have Black Insomnia coffee, the world's strongest coffee, Spiritus, whatever that word is, which is 96% alcohol, and most importantly, Mad Dog 357, which is the strongest hot sauce you can buy. The Scoville scale rates food spiciness, and for reference, the Carolina Reaper is 1.56 million SHU. The Mad Dog is 9 million SHU. So here's the preceding conversation. I'm sorry, the only one I have is way too hot. I'm not like you. I can handle it. Bring it here. No, I mean it's actually... Just bring me the hot sauce so I can stomach this food. Me. Malicious compliance activated. Sure, I'll get it for ya. Dickhead then douses one of his potatoes in it and smugly takes a bite. The kick hits him almost immediately, and without saying anything, he gets up to go into the fridge. It's very clear he's in pain, but is trying to hide it. My girlfriend understood what was going on. Are you alright, Dad? He was obviously looking for milk in the fridge, and here's the kicker. I'm lactose intolerant. There's no milk in my apartment. Without saying anything, he collected his belongings and left. Girlfriend and I had a good laugh explaining what had happened to her mom, and we enjoyed the good food I made in peace. This guy's coming out here trying to talk about extremes, that's what he collects? 96% alcohol? Man, I can get more than that at CVS. Not letting me pick my own airline to fly? Enjoy paying for business class seats on the contracted airline. So, as a federal employee, when we fly, we have to book our plane tickets with the locally contracted airline. However, our union agreement and other federal travel regulations and guidelines state that an employee can fly any airline of their choice as long as the price is equal to or cheaper than the contracted airline. My first two training trips to the Midwest, I flew with Airline Z because I've been a frequent flyer with them for 15 plus years. They offer plenty of legroom, their planes are newer and bigger, and seats are wide enough to be comfortable. The first two trips, their price was cheaper than the contracted airline. I made my orders, booked my tickets with Airline Z, and everything was approved. Easy. Done. Then it wasn't. July 2017. It was going to be my third trip to the Midwest. I did my orders, booked my flight with Airline Z. The price was slightly cheaper than the contracted airline price, so I figured, who doesn't want to save money? And sent everything for approval. Well, the new manager, AM, denied my orders. I called her and asked why my orders were denied. She said, "You didn't book your ticket with the contracted airline." I explained that I've flown with them 2 other times, and the price had always been cheaper than the contracted airline, and per the union agreement, my orders shouldn't have been denied. She goes on to say, "Well, I wouldn't have approved them then, and I'm not approving them now. Redo your orders." Okay, so I redid my orders with the contracted airline. Again, the price was slightly higher than Airline Z, but I do what I'm told. When I arrived at the gate, I noticed the plane that the contracted airline was using was smaller than Airline Z. I was hoping it wasn't as cramped as it looked, but sure enough, when I got in, it immediately felt cramped. At 6'1", my head was a few inches from hitting the roof of the plane, and being slightly bulky, the seat I sat in was narrow and extremely uncomfortable. If I raised the armrest, my thighs spilled over to the other passenger's comfort zone. Thank God the seat beside me was empty for this trip. My knees were literally hitting the seat of the passenger in front of me. I somehow managed to grab my phone out of my pocket and take a picture of my legs and knees and showed how cramped and uncomfortable I was. It was the longest 3-hour flight ever. As for the return flight, it was the same circumstance as the departure flight, except I had someone next to me who was also slightly bulky. I pulled out my phone again and painfully took another picture. I discreetly added the passenger's size next to me to add to my discomfort on the flight. October 2017 comes around, and I'm heading to training again, and once again, I had to book with the contracted airline, and the same thing happened. Cramped seats, hurting knees, bulky passenger next to me, and this time, the passenger in front of me leaned back on her seat mid-flight. With my phone at the ready, I took another picture of my horrible circumstance. My caption would have been, "This is how a sardine feels." On the return home, I paid for the emergency row out of pocket. Booking the emergency exit row was an extra cost that wasn't allowed on government credit cards. It's after Thanksgiving 2017, and I get advised I'm going back to the Midwest for more training. This time, I'm ready. I had done a little research on the federal travel regulations and saw that business class was an option for air travel if the reason to book business class was for safety and health reasons. Bingo. I created my orders, and this time I booked business class with the contracted airline and included my health as an exceptional reason. The total price was almost 3 times the normal expense for this type of trip. I submitted my orders for approval, and not even a minute passes when AM calls me. I answer the phone. I didn't even get a chance to say hello when she says, "Why in the hell are you booking business class?" Because on the contracted airline, I don't fit in the normal seats. That's not a good enough reason. You need to change the class now, or I am not approving these at all. No, it's a health issue. I need business class to sit comfortable. My legs and thighs cramp up and my knees hurt from banging the seat in front of me. I'm not approving that. I'm coming over there and we're going to meet with your manager right now. I was ready for this. I got my phone and walked to my manager's office. He's on the phone, so I quietly sit down and did not say anything. He gets off the phone and then looks at me and asks, "What's up?" I smile and shake my head when in comes AM. "Glad you're here." He wants to book business class for his training trip. You know you can't do that. Why did you? Me pulling out my phone. Remember my trip in July? Well, here's my first experience with the contracted airline heading to training. I give my manager my phone and he raises his eyebrows in disbelief. AM didn't look at the photo. That is not the government's problem. Okay, manager hands me back my phone. Well, here's a picture from the return trip, and it was more uncomfortable than the outbound trip. I couldn't get settled the entire trip. My thighs and legs cramped a bit. Showed my manager my phone again, and he cringes. AM is still unfazed. Your comfort is not our concern. We just need to get you there, and that's it. And finally, I say, as I got my phone back and showed them the October trip, this happened on my last trip, which left my right thigh in pain for a few days. My lower back ached while sitting in training, which made it uncomfortable to learn or study the material. Not to mention the sore knees I had from bumping into the seat in front of me. Again. I showed my manager the sardine picture and he made the face like he just swallowed a lemon. Me, I really do cramp up in those seats. I can't sit or stand up comfortably, I'm in the next passenger's personal space, and I can't really adjust my knees or legs at all during the flight. If I get hurt really bad where I can barely walk, I might have to miss a day or two in training class. Therefore, for health reasons, I need business class on the contracted airline. Well, that ain't gonna happen because I am not approving them. You need to change it back to coach. You've done coach before with the contracted airlines, you can do it again. My manager just looks at her for a minute. For him being a big guy himself, he knew my pain. Well, I think you should approve his orders, the manager said, but I understand if you don't want to. He's provided me with enough info here to get a health exemption. I can't have him miss training due to an injury because of cramped seats. If I have to, I'll have him send his orders to your manager for approval. Of course, I'm also going to send him a quick email with those pictures to get back up the health exception. Do you mind sending me those pictures to my email? Sure, and sent. Thank you. He's quiet for a minute until he turns back to AM. What would have been the alternative to flying the contracted airline? There is none. We have to fly the contract airline. I'm staying quiet because it's no longer my flight. Manager, are you positive on that? AM. Yeah, 100%. Then I guess we have to book him business class. And he turns to his computer to start typing something. AM, though, doesn't want to admit defeat, especially to her own boss. Wait, she says with one arm stretched out, trying to get my manager to stop typing, which he does. He could fly coach with Airline Z, that's an alternative. AM is now trying to save face, but my manager is not buying it. Are the tickets the same price as the contracted airline? I did a quick internet search on my phone, which, by the way, is not the way you research official travel prices. You must use the government search engine, and AM should have caught this. She does not. No, sir, all prices are up really high now. AM is pissed off knowing that she's lost completely. So, before I finish my email and send it off to your manager, will you approve his orders? AM nods like a spoiled child and she walks out of the office. I thank my manager and left to resend my orders to AM with business class for my November training. By the way, it wasn't much different except for wider seats, more legroom, my knees didn't touch the seat in front of me, and free drinks. January 2018 comes around and I get another training class, except this time, I got approved to fly with Airline Z from the new manager. Now, while yes, there is a fair amount of malicious compliance in this story, especially as it comes to your manager making a blind power grab on controlling your flights, not paying attention to union guidelines, and essentially costing the government more money to fly you places, there are a couple of problems with this story. One of the first things that stuck out to me was OP's mention of external plane size. He says that when he arrived at the contracted airline's gate, it looked smaller than Airline Z's. Now, the majority of 3+ hour routes, the length OP mentioned, are operated by either Boeing 737s or Airbus A320 variations within the US. Being fairly comparable in size, it seems unlikely that the sight of one or the other of these planes would really make him worry about space aboard. To add on to that, plane size has less to do with seat pitch than the airline does. For example, Frontier's A319 and A320 planes feature a 28-inch seat pitch, while JetBlue's A320 features a whopping 34 inches of legroom. Ironically, though, most domestic airline seat widths are within about an inch of each other, meaning that OP's lateral space issues really couldn't be changing substantially from one airline to the next. To be fair, some regional jets are used on 3+ hour flight paths, though they're less common. For the benefit of the doubt, let's assume that the contracted airline flew an Embraer ER-175, more common among domestic airlines, along with the Bombardier CRJ series. And given the time frame of the story, the Bombardier C series is right out. Even the ER-175 and CRJ plans, however, offer a business/first class product with 1 and 2 single aisle configurations, giving way to a 2 and 2 single aisle for coach, offering a substantially different experience than might be experienced between, say, Economy and Economy Plus or any of its parallel products across any airline. This makes OP's assessment of product differentiation and plane continuity a little fuzzy. Does the story seem a little suspicious at times? Yes, but at the same time, as a tall guy myself, I can absolutely empathize with the feeling of your knees banging against the seat in front of you and the absolute horror of the seat even reclining back into you. At least he can use Airline Z once again. Check your contracts, government salary employees. So I work IT in a public school. I'm a 12-month employee who works 40 hours a week, 5 days. I'm constantly staying late, sometimes an hour or more, or coming in early. I don't get any overtime, but sometimes the job calls to be late, no big deal in my eyes. I get a half-hour lunch, salaried at $55K. Most days I bring my lunch in, but sometimes I don't have leftovers or anything to bring in. There's a convenience shop that sells sandwiches and chips that I usually go to whenever I don't bring in lunch. Since the sandwiches are made by order, they don't have an option to call in, you have to wait for it. It takes around 12 or 13 to get there and back. So before my break, lunch is at 12 noon every day, I'll run to the shop, get a sandwich and a Coke before my lunch break, and come back in time for lunch. Now, this isn't every day. It's pretty rare. Maybe twice a month. My boss knows I stay late and never ask for overtime or anything like that. He told me staying late was a part of my job when necessary. I usually don't have an issue with him, but today I did. I ran out at 11:45, got a sandwich, came back, and took lunch from 12 to 12:30. When I was just getting off my lunch, he called me back into his office, asked me what time I went on lunch. I told him what time. Then he asked me if I ran out before my break. I told him I did. He told me he was writing me up for stealing time for running out before my break. This is strange considering this has never been a problem and I've never gotten a write-up. So I tell him that's fine and he has to do what he has to do. Then I decide to look at my contract. Guess what? I get 2 15-minute breaks in addition to my half-hour lunch. So now I'll be taking a 15-minute break whenever I feel like it, thanks to my union. Okay, so you're telling me that his boss wrote him up in violation of his union agreement and his contract. Nice. Our government sure does know how to run things, huh? Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.